3 years ago, I grew up. Not only was it the year that I became an adult, but I began to resent Sonic the Hedgehog. Watching my adored rodent fall prey to the tired trappings of the open world trend slashed at my soul and reminded me that I was no longer among his demographic. And with this rejection weighing on me, I abandoned his abode and moved on to more mature, more daring interests. Shadow.
Can you see all of me? Walk into my mystery. Step inside and walk for dear life. Do you remember me? Capture you and set you free. I am all of me.
I said I was going to make this channel all the way back in 2018, and here I am now. Finally, a real Season 2 to SDUR and a better place for high effort content than the Let's Laugh at Press Conference channel. Welcome to Acid Phoenix. Check your brain at the door. And avert your ears. So Shadow Generations. I guess I should start with its pre-release.
It was in a random Sony State of Play that we got the very first look at a remaster of Sonic Generations, which at that point was arguably the last good Sonic game aside from maybe Mania. At the end of the trailer,
holy crap, it's Shadow the Hedgehog! Holy shit, it's an alien!
and it also gave us a name that conjured interesting images. I think I said it best myself. Gay sex? It's everything I've ever wanted. As time went on, a few extra crumbs were unveiled concerning DLC, pre-order bonuses, and typical Sega stuff. There was also a brief controversy surrounding one of the previewed music tracks. They were sticking with the dubstep from the last couple of games. This disappointed others because of the level that was showcased, and it disappointed me because I associate Shadow with industrial rock. In fact, for every level, I'm going to offer a recommended industrial rock or metal album to listen to if you don't care for the selected music. A bigger controversy came about when it was discovered that Ian Flynn was going to pull an Ian Flynn on Sonic's story. But while I could spend about 5 minutes complaining about how Amy is neutered, and Rouge is modest, and Classic Kate Angel Island, all the painted to the side of the fandom that's so insecure that they have to draw nachos on Sonic's torso. I mean, the game's nearly a year old at the time of writing this, so I'm not going to be past that milestone when this video comes out, because I thought it was a good idea to stockpile 3 different scripts for 3 different videos so I could work on them all at the same time and put them out weekly in reverse order. My intelligence is boundless.
Sorry, I've still got a bit of pent-up anger from my next video. Anyway, Sonic X Shadow DeviantArt was released on October 25th of last year to critical and public acclaim, the likes of which not seen since SA2, 3 and Knuckles, ever. But I was still hesitant after Frontiers. My views on the 3D Sonic games tend to be a lot like the general public's opinion on Metallica. You have the extremely rough bones at the start, then it got more developed as time went on, breaking a little with an entry that was in many ways the best yet but marked by severe technical issues. Then they started streamlining themselves harder and harder until reaching a breaking point where they tried to get their edge back by following trends and falling flat on their faces. Heroes doesn't fit because I haven't finished it, Lost World doesn't fit because I haven't started it, and Generations is more S&M than anything else, but you get the gist. Following this lineage, Shadow Generations would seem to be a solid Death Magnetic, my favorite Metallica album. But with it being more of a bonus with the Sonic Generations remaster like Bowser's Fury or Haunted Castle Revisited, I could just as easily do this some kind of monster single that's listed on Spotify twice for some reason. Regardless, I got it for my 20th birthday that year because it's Shadow and I like to consider myself pretty edgy.
You own a pair of thigh highs.
Shut up. And even if Shadow's story sucks, I can still fall back on Sonic's side, and it's safe to say you already know how it turned out with the title of the video having the word redemption in it. In fact, this is a bootleg vinyl copy of my favorite album of all time, 10,000 Days. In my Frontiers video over on Fish Activation, which, if you want to watch that, epilepsy warning, it was exported very badly on a terrible computer. But over there, I sang a bunch of Tool songs, but I specifically left all songs from this album out because it just felt too special to me to use it while talking about garbage. Not here, though. In fact, expect a line from every song on this album. Every full song.
We open with a flashback. Jolly Robotnik has finished work on the ultimate life form and showcases this magnificent being to his granddaughter, Maria. And then we cut to the present with Shadow on the Ark. I don't think that works. Shadow was in the pod, still unconscious. How could he remember this? Whatever, you want a real flashback? Watch the YouTube animations. While taking a leisurely walk down memory lane, he gets a call from Boobs the Snatch. She informs him that he's missing out on all the calories he could be shoving down his gullet right about now at Sonic's birthday party,
There's free food.
to which he responds with a dismissive grunt. I'm disabling subtitles. See, the real reason why he's here is that Gunn told him that there's some shaky things going on, and he was sent to investigate, leading into level 1. I'm home. A 3D Sonic level that's actually decently long, with a vibrant aesthetic, original level design, shortcuts, gimmicks, and a legitimate feeling of speed. Why can't I move in a straight line? Yeah, for some reason Shadow typically veered off slightly whenever I pushed the control stick upwards. The Joy-Cons have these grooves that you can feel on the inside of the sticks that are supposed to line you up with the 8 cardinal directions, but I think they may be off on mine. Even still, I think they should have made it so there's a bit more leeway when going straight forward. This is a 3D Sonic game, you're typically going to be holding the stick up. Forgive me if I'm maybe half a degree off. And because you're playing as Shadow, you get an extra move, Chaos Control. I have a little love-hate relationship with this ability. On the one hand, it allows for crazier set pieces and more opportunities for shortcuts. On the other, it slows down time, that's cheating. That includes the level timer. You're probably guaranteed S ranks if you abuse it. I didn't, because I'm a good boy. As for the level itself, it's great. It's all in 3D, it looks beautiful, it flows well, it's not too difficult for first level, but also not completely brain dead easy. It's got this part with Giant Missile. This is gonna be a hard video to make.
Yeah, so the issue is that I am terrible at explaining why I like things. It's easy to point out when something screws up, not so much when it doesn't. So odds are I'm going to be nitpicking a lot, because otherwise this video would be shorter than a pee break.
And on that note, while the level itself is great, it reminds me more of Crazy Gadget and Final Rush than anything Shadow's done. Admittedly, I haven't played the game, so maybe all this rail grinding and these anti-gravity walls are in that game, but most reviewers said that this level is based on SA2, and I'm inclined to believe them. About halfway through, Doom's Eye shows up and sends you flying through broken bits of Radical Highway from Sonic Generations on the 3DS. It's a really neat set piece, chasing down the eye while everything twists and distorts like it came out of Doctor Strange. That is hopefully the only time I ever mention the MCU on this channel. At the end of it, the eye shields itself and you have to take out a bunch of enemies that spawn in behind the camera. It's an odd choice. You send the bots at the eye, its shield breaks, you bop it, the ground breaks, the end. Turns out Shadow conveniently fell into the exact room that still had
Fake Chaos Emerald Tails made to foil the Doctor's plans.
How did he know that? He wasn't in the room, he was probably off in the pod room staring into space like usual. Yeah, he saw the capsule blow up, but how could he know there was a fake emerald in there? Ian Flynn. That's how. Always gotta get in the full reference. Alright, actually, hold up. While looking back through the SA2 cutscenes, I saw this.
If you want to live, leave the Chaos Emeralds where they are. The fake emerald is good enough for you.
But that doesn't mean that he's off the hook. He could have cut out the whole to foil the Doctor's plans part and just kept it as the fake Chaos Emerald Tails made. Or even just the fake Chaos Emerald. It would have been a million times better than this. Anyway, here's the time meter. He sends you off to white space, but unlike Sonic's version, it's in 3D, and there's this thing in the middle. But before we explore, there's a second act to the arc. I switched the Joy-Cons out for that USB GameCube controller that I used for Forbidden Frontiers, because it has an outer gate. I didn't want to keep drifting to the side, so it made sense. This level is entirely in 2D. And I had to deal with all the control issues that came from using this button lab. The jump button was over here, the boost button was over here, and this giant big green button in the center, that's the stomp button. No, I couldn't remap the controls, I had to put up with it, and because of that, I played terribly. This level's got the tubes from Final Chase, making it fit better as a Shadow level, and other than that, this is more than the same as a 2D boost level, i.e. less fun. It also introduces the Stinger ability. It breaks guards, turns on switches, and it's activated with the X button. Why? All these triggers are barely used, and you put it on X. There's a speed limit on that button, one that Sonic games exceed tenfold. I gotta reposition my whole thumb for that. And don't even get me started on the GameCube button placement. A few minutes in, you're introduced to the Doom Wing. Pressing the boost button mid-air lets you glide with an awesome sounding shriek that also saps your rings just by existing. It also goes away at the end of the level. You won't be saving it for some time after this, or putting the angel on the sideline. Also, that absolutely atrocious, embarrassing, imbecilic, borderline journalist level gameplay still needed me a B rank, so that's still busted. After leaving the arc again, Shadow notices something in the distance. A faint, golden and cyan smudge from across the fog of white space. Could this be his childhood friend? The one he shared so many fond memories with? No. That's impossible. She got shot in the face 50 years ago. And even if she didn't, she had AIDS. Not even a joke, she was a child and she had AIDS. Alright, now it's time to navigate the white space. This is one hell of an improvement over Sonic Frontiers. It's an actually fleshed out world rather than just the developers hitting the generate terrain button and stringing a bunch of grind rails across. Everything meshes together like these pieces actually belong, and most importantly, it's not a collectathon, mostly. There's some aspect of collecting, sure, but it's all either a natural occurrence over the course of the game or completely optional side content. Mostly. First order of business, crack open this egg with this gear. You get an upgrade to the Stinger ability, the Doom Spears. Lock onto 5 targets and wham! I rarely ever used it and often forgot that I even had it. I also had a bit of trouble with it because it would only lock onto things that were on screen. Why I expected anything else is entirely beyond me. A few steps later and we're at the next level. So this is an interesting interpretation. Sonic's story typically tried to keep the overall level design fairly similar to the original games, just with a bit of sprucing up. Here this is basically a different level, and a very simplistic one at that. You start grinding, then you kill a few enemies, then you do some more grinding, repeat until you win. Where's the rockets? The springs with fans on them? Sky Rail was more than just a rail, and why does it look like an old train station? At least it changes up a bit with the Radical Highway segment. Yep, there's another one of those, and it's basically the same as last time. See, it was cool the first time, but doing it again is too pretty cool for. Okay, fine. And this time it's not the end of the level. There's still more not Sky Rail. This is where I found out Shadow could homing attack enemies from the other side of a wall. I like how they didn't have to tell you that you could do it, they just make you figure it out yourself. And I'm stopping myself again, because looking back at the footage, I saw this. So not only did this happen earlier in the level, but also, they did tell you that you could do this. So no, it wasn't this situation where you could just figure it out yourself, you already did it, and I just didn't realize that I already did it. Also B rank, because I died a few times. This one right here was BS. Now let's move on to Act 2 of Rail Canyon. Wait, there were always 3 rails, red, yellow, and blue. The level's more focused on combat than platforming. Plus the colors were way more vibrant. It was a Heroes level. As I said at the beginning, I haven't played too much of Sonic Heroes. It's not that I'm disinterested, it's that my copy freezes when trying to load Team Hero vs Team Rose. So my experience with this level is based entirely on what I'm seeing now. Reducing the level I just played to a 2D plane would immediately demonstrate how monotonous it really was. I somehow didn't realize how simplistic Act 1 was until rewatching my footage. That wouldn't work in this more restrained environment. So they made something a lot more interesting. There's still a lot of rail grinding, but the rails lend themselves more to platforming. They curl and loop a lot more than they did in Act 1, and you're often expected to jump off of them and shoot in another direction. There's also these glowing orbs that change which direction the rails go in. They were also in Act 1, but they're put to much greater use here, offering branching paths and puzzles. Oh, and you also get chased by this thing at the end. That said, a 2D boost level is still a 2D boost level, and while I'd say Act 2 is better conceptually, I'd still rather play Act 1. Okay, now that Rail Canyon's been taken care of, it's time for the next Doom Egg. To get to it, you gotta climb up this structure, which is a million times better than any of the towers of Frontiers, because it's got room to breathe rather than being contained in a thin rod. Reminds me of Womp's Fortress. Within this egg is the Doom Blast, which allows you to kick specific enemies at walls and smash them down. This one in particular opened the way to the boss gate, which needs keys to open. This is the mostly thing I was talking about. You need to backtrack through white space and get these keys by doing mundane 30-second challenges in remixed versions of the levels you've been to. It's over and done with quickly. You're not paying Amy Rose 500 hearts for the privilege to mow the lawn, but like Amy Rose, it's still obnoxious and uninteresting. So uninteresting, in fact, that I've got nothing to say about them. Except for this last one, the One Ring Challenge. One ring to rule them all. Sounds interesting on paper. Only having one ring across the whole level sounds like it would make it quite a bit hard to get through. You'd better bring your Black Blur A-game, as this will test even the most seasoned. Oh yeah. Return to white space? Y or N? They're the wrong way around. Laugh, you ungrateful whores! After getting all the keys, it's time to face the first boss, the Bio-Lizard. No, I won't be recommending different music to play over it, because muting supporting me is a gosh darn crime. Actually, the music across this whole game has been phenomenal. Hardly surprising for a Sonic game, but still. I've only been posting music recs because I had that idea kicking around in my head before the game was even out. This battle has you circling around the lizard, waiting for it to get tired so you can grind on its cables. Not too awful different from how it is in SA2, which ends 3D. Until it is. And then, oh god, does it get different. It rips its cables out of the ground and starts slamming them at you. You have to attack these cables when they get stuck in the ground, which summons these bubbles that lead to the power supply. I'm not particularly huge on these wait for the weak point to show up types of boss fights, but at the same time, the original Bio-Lizard was already one of those. And I think I prefer the old one. It was claustrophobic. You were wrapped up in the clutches of the immortal prototype and you had to wait until it gave out. This one is just a Mario boss. And it has mid-boss checkpoints for some reason. Those make sense in games like Bayonetta, where the fights could last upwards of a good few hours, but this one's pretty short. Speaking of Platinum, this beast takes a page out of Metal Gear Rising's playbook by making the last quarter or so of its health bar a mess of QuickTime events. Now, I'm typically not huge on QuickTime events, but this is a case where I think it's perfectly warranted. At the end of a boss fight, it gives it that nice cinematic feel. After killing the lizard, the map opens up a fair bit with more levels to play, and also Shadow gets a greeting from
It's me, the devil.
Shadow's all like, "Have you come to face me again? I've killed you once and I can kill you again. I need to watch things die." But Black Doom's all like, "Can it wait a bit? The guy making this video still got 5 more songs to shoehorn in," and flies off. Now it's time to bounce around off to the next power-up, the Doom Surf. It pops out whenever you touch any body of water and you can surf on it. Fairly self-explanatory. Oh, and that means there are no underwater sections, meaning yes, you can beat this game without touching any air bubbles. And if I ever return to that series, it'll still be over on Fish Activation. With this new power, we can surf our way on over to the next level. Alright everyone, listen up. If you enjoy this level right here, then trust me, I agree with you, it's a dang good level, but if you like it, you have no right to call Sonic 06 a bad game, because what you're looking at is the exact same level that was in Sonic 06, but with a few surfing segments added in. And not only is it almost a copy-paste job from 06, but it's not even Shadow's level. He went to Kingdom Valley, yeah, but he ended it on a hang glider. He was riding his jet ski around an open lake and blowing up towers. He wasn't grinding on wind or running on the cyclone area. There was only like one eagle in his stage. Sonic was the one doing all of that stuff, and even the music. It's just the original song ripped from the original game with this generic drum beat plastered over it. Again, I like the level. It might be the single greatest boost level in the history of the series. But I already liked Sonic 06. It's my 3rd favorite game of the series. And I know I'm playing the fan remake and not the original, but I'm talking about the original. I replayed it on the PS3 sometime last year, and I enjoyed every second of it as long as I wasn't playing as Silver. P06 just fixes up the bugs and adds a few quality of life things, which bumps the game up to the #1 spot. And also, I just want to mention something about the grading system before moving on to Act 2. Look at this. I got an A rank. The bar is filled, I did not die, and I got an A rank. In fact, the game is telling me that I need to shave nearly a minute off my time to S rank the level. My issue with this is that it looks like it should work the same way as in Sonic's story, but the grading system only goes up to A unless you get the perfect bonus. They even kept in the animation where an A rank gets replaced with the S rank, but no, you get an S rank by going faster. It doesn't get displayed on the bar. You can't tell whether you just scraped by with your A rank or if you're really close to an S. Your only guide is this little sliver of info right here. Not to mention, that means there's basically no reward for a perfect run. Sure, dying would mean losing time and rings, but you can make that back up. There's no big penalty for your mistakes. They also got rid of lives, not just in Shadow's campaign, but in Sonic's too, which really sticks out because it makes one of its upgrades worthless. I don't like how Sega keeps axing the life counter from these games. Bring back lives and game overs. Act 2's main centerpiece is a segment in the middle where you're inside the tower. It's got all these moving blocks that either form staircases or crush you, leads to an excellent, if generic, use of chaos control near the end, but everything surrounding it is fluff. Fluffling oddly uses a lot of these rope things. I seriously got through the entire level in 1 paragraph. I am really good at writing these things. Wow, wow, fight the power. It's already time to get to the next level. No story cutscenes, no extra abilities. In fact, I'm pretty sure you can play these levels in either order, but I went with this order because this next level came after Kingdom Valley by a solid 11 years. You know, until now, I've never really respected how well these remix stages capture the essence of their older counterparts. I used to defend Forces for some godforsaken reason, but I replayed it around the same time I did 06, and all of a sudden, I understood everything. But this is still way more deep and interesting than anything in that... I can't call it Vision Level, relax like I said that years ago, that Telltale ripoff. There is some semblance of level design. There's cracks in the ground, spikes you have to jump over, enemies that aren't just there for you to blast through. It's nothing amazing, still a Forces level, but it's not mind-numbing either. You do have control. And the music... Oh crap. See, I've been very slowly working on my second album, Audiophobe, and the only bit of action music I've written for it goes like this. Actually, that's not true anymore. I actually went back and did a little bit on a different song, so there is a little bit extra. I knew I didn't think of it on my own, I just couldn't figure out where I took it from. Am I gonna have to tag it as being from this game? Dream Theater got away with it. And actually, I get the feeling that a lot of this game's music was also taken from other sources, and I'm not just talking other Sonic games. Like, take a listen. Or maybe I've just lost my marbles, I don't know. And as if to apologize for making you relive the terror of a literal boost to win game, this level brings back the Radical Highway scene. This one's the toughest one yet, focusing a lot on these tubes that remind me a lot of the special stages from Sonic 2, and guess what else? This part at the end with all the null space goop really tripped me up. Though I don't remember whether or not I was following the giant on-screen prompt to hit the shoulder buttons, so it could have just been plain incompetence. Bouts of stupidity have been happening across my playthrough. I could be a god at any game, knowing all the ins and outs of every level and applying crackhead reflexes at every second, but the instant I hit record, I regress to the level of an infant sloth with Parkinson's. Hey, to the developer of CS Tweaks, that's supposed to be a one-hit kill. Okay, there we go. And sure, this was my second ever playthrough, months after the first one, and the resolution took a hit with the capture card plugged in, and I was playing past midnight. Seriously? Anyway, I still got the S rank. Act 2, continuing the trend of throwing in better gimmicks to distract you from the fact that boosting isn't fun in 2D, has these Death Egg robots in the background blowing the floor down. It also uses the Doom Surf a lot more than even in Kingdom Valley, and I've gotta say, as a Geometry Dash and Mega Man 8 veteran, these segments are really fun, but they're also really simplistic. After beating the level, we get another cutscene. Maria? Is she actually here in the flesh? How is this possible? And Father? This is absurd. I saw their execution before my very eyes. Is Black Doom toying with me, making me witness these painful apparitions to weaken me? Or was it that beast that trapped me here in this box of memories? Did it steal my long-lost family along with me? Blasted demons, I'll kill you both! Except that's not what he says, and his first idea was that the Time Eater rewrote history so that neither of them got shot. Random question, Shadow. If that was what happened, then why is Maria still a lolly and not a sexy cougar? That was 50 frickin' years ago! Alright, next up is another tower which involves more Chaos Sphere switches, using the X button and the right stick. That doesn't work. I've got to curl my fingers around the controller, and my thumb was already getting stiff before this. Not to mention it was a waste of time because I need more gosh dang keys. And if there was anything in this game that reminded me of the pain of Frontiers, it was trying to get to the challenge missions for Sunset Heights. They were up in the sky of God knows where, and there were a million different structures around that led to pretty much nothing. For some reason, I was convinced this grind rail had something to do with something. It didn't. And there was this much bigger thing that involved using Chaos Control to get past these spikes. That only led to a meaningless treasure chest. It took me like 15 minutes to find where we were supposed to start to get them. It was this launch pad, far away from anything else, behind the Sunset Heights area. And then when I got the first key and was heading off to Act 2's challenges, I fell off and had to do the whole hunt again because I have the memory of the goldfish. That said, I really like this challenge where you hit the buttons so the Death Egg robot will blow things up. What I didn't care so much for was this challenge back in Kingdom Valley. Not the challenge itself, that was a perfectly fine one involving those moving blocks, but look at the time I got. 1:15. Flat. The precise time limit for an S rank. Look, it still has the S rank on the timer here. But what rank did I get? A. With a necessary improvement of nil. Yeah, sure, I could have done way better. I don't mind being humiliated with a mere A rank, but not when it clearly says I was worthy of an S rank. That's a big fat load of grade A, Oscar Mayer, BALONEY baloney. Anyway, grab the keys and it's boss time. What are we dealing with next? Alright, screw it, you're getting the toothpaste. The Metal Overlord boss fight is focused on using the Doom Surf to kick debris at him. That's the whole thing. When shoot muses at you sometimes, you kick him right back. There's nothing special about this, you can find this in any other recent Sonic game. Except halfway through when it goes 2D and you have to play Pong with the missile, that's pretty cool.
Let's see how long you last on such unstable terrain.
Dude, you made it steadier. Also, the ending QTE broke and I still had to deflect one last volley of missiles. That kinda defeated the impact of it all. Once that's over with, you get another cutscene where Gerald Robotnik recaps Shadow's entire backstory, which you probably already knew unless you were a little kid who got through the series through the movies, and even then, it would be explained again 2 months later in Sonic 3. And also, the audio is desynced.
Will either take control of your mind and make you his ultimate weapon.
He already finished saying the word weapon before his mouth even got to it.
How do you mess that up? Like, I don't know if these cutscenes are pre-rendered or in-engine, but either way, there is no excuse. Even knowing how powerful the Switch is, there's still no excuse. Pre-rendered? Why would an MP4 file lag at all? In-engine? You'd think that each voice clip would be its own file, set off whenever a character's lips start flapping. Not one solid block. Here we are, looking at this.
Okay, next power-up. To get to the Doom Egg, you've got to walk across this sticky, paint-like goop, and the Doom Morph turns you into an effing squid thing that swims through the goop at lightning speeds and does some web swinging. Definitely my favorite out of all the power-ups. With it, we can get to the next level. Sonic Frontiers? My nemesis, the thorn in my back, the thing that should not be. It has returned to torment me once more with its existence. And it doesn't even make sense because Shadow wasn't even in Frontiers. Why is this level actually good? Because Sonic Frontiers is a far different game from the rest of them, Chaos Island's layout is completely original with hardly any structural callbacks to its game of origin beyond balloons and grind rails. And even then, the grind rails aren't nearly as overbearing as they were in Rail Canyon. In fact, the main gimmick of this level is actually the Doom Morph, with a fat load of goop across the stage that helps with speedy traversal and neat tricks. There's also this one part where that wasn't what I was supposed to do. Whether I love or hate feeling like I'm breaking the game is an opinion that changes depending on the game I'm playing, what mood I'm in, what day of the week it is, whether Mercury is in retrograde, random solar flares, the number of starving kids in Africa, and what power of 10 you are as a visitor of this site. Click here to claim your prize. Here I found it satisfying. Now this is the level that had its music preview where everyone crapped their pants. Chaos Island originally had this beautiful piano piece for its background, and here we get dubstep. Now frankly, I don't think a soft piano really fits the fast and frantic speed of a traditional Sonic Boost level, so I don't really mind the change. Plus, I was raised on Epic Gamer compilations and rhythm games, so while I may be a metalhead first and foremost these days, I still have a lot of respect for dubstep, as long as it doesn't take too much from hip-hop. But, could you nix the cackle? It doesn't sound good. I'm never covering a 2D Boost level again. Okay, there's these weird platforms, and you actually get to go into the Zap Temple. Moving on. Oh, hey, Sonic.
I found you, Shadow!
The Blue Hedgehog. Of all places.
Oh, sweet, a quarter. Oh, I got some, okay, you took my wife, you begged my crops, I'm taking your life. Keep Pastor Shadow there for that
Fourth Chaos Emerald.
But we've got our own problems back home, so it's time for a good old-fashioned brawl. And talk about a low-budget fight, no gameplay or impact, I'm out of here. Now, of course, it's just a cutscene because Sonic wins. You actually want to play this battle? Go back to his campaign. Also, Shadow only dropped
Fake Chaos Emerald Tails made to foil the Doctor's plans.
and told Rouge to replace it with the real one when all is said and done. That's a pointless endeavor that just makes everything more complicated. Just let Sonic win the real one from the get-go. If you knew about the fake emerald, you know it could still use Chaos Control. Anyway, next level. Oh, son of a gun. And not only do you have to get more keys, you have to get all the keys. You skipped a few challenges in Final Chase or Kingdom Valley? Well, sucks to be you. Go back and get them. It's like they missed the point of all those challenges in Sonic's story. They were basically the same as they are here, but I love them because you only had to do a small fraction of them to beat the game. And when you were done with it, they were just side content, so you could grind more S ranks. Making them all the mandatory just comes off as padding. Let's skip that monotony and go right into the boss fight with Mephiles the Doc. Good to see you here after Iblis showed the Knuckles show. And this is probably one of the best boss fights in the 3D Sonic games. Most fights in the series either have the pacing be dictated entirely by whether the boss itself pulls out its weakness attack, or you're just chasing it down through a sterile corridor, or it's just plain too easy, or a combination of the three. But here it's an actually engaging fight. He flies around the room and you gotta avoid him while stinging his robot clones and trying to get one of the Doom Morph bubbles. Halfway through, he changes his tactics and starts throwing pillars down. You climb the ones with the goop, swing across some more bubbles, and pulverize his bots. When you come back down, he's got this giant thing and you gotta ram it into his stomach while avoiding its laser attack. And then you get another massive QTEs, but that's just how the game is. Afterwards, there's another cutscene. Black Doom shows up and says a bunch of gobbledygook, and then Shadow repeats his entire character arc from SA2 in a matter of seconds. He boils over with rage, ready to watch the world burn, but no! This isn't what Maria would have wanted! Everyone, a round of applause for Ian Flynn. Now we gotta get the fifth Doom Egg. One more and a Cenobite will give us the Leviathan of Eternal Pleasure. What's in this one anyway? Well, remember the second act of the Final Chase where there was a bit where you were able to glide around but it was taken away at the end and I said we have to put it on the back burner for a bit? Well, it's time now, my time now, give me my words. Because all the Doom Eggs are cracked, the thing in the middle is at full power. The sky dims, the earth reforms, and new creatures rise to the hole at its top. We have rescheduled the end game. That's what's in the script for some reason. Shadow offers a heartfelt goodbye to his long-dead family and storms off for the final level. This is what the game has been leading up to. It teased us throughout with the Doom Eye segments, but now we're here. It's Radical Highlight from Sonic Adventure 2. It starts off almost identically to the original level before radically changing to prioritize the new Doom Wing. And because I'm clearly terrible at explaining why Sonic levels are good, I guess I could talk about how the Doom Wing operates. Except no I won't because I did it at the beginning of the video, so fast forward. There's the goal ring, let's go! Oh come on, touch it you edgy prick! Alright, well that was pretty easy for a final level, but I guess it's time to wrap this game up. Oh no. Oh yeah! Yes! Now this is a masterpiece of a level. Still fully 3D, hard as nails, amazing set pieces. This is what a Sonic level ought to be. You got platforms that spin, buildings that fly at you, more of those tubes, those giant guys that spit tornadoes, and just enough for that original level to remind you this is still Radical Highway. And oh yeah, if it's your first, or in my case second time through, you're gonna die a lot. I got a D rank on it, and if I weren't recording for a video with a borrowed capture card, I would have grinded out an S. This level is darn near perfect, and it's tough to decide between it and Kingdom Valley 1 for the best act in the game. So naturally I'm out of things to say. Let's go to the final boss. Devil Doom, the final battle. Starts off as a rehash of the squid thing from earlier, except sometimes you have to jump to hit the rocks. Halfway through his health bar, he switches things up and makes it a Doom Morph challenge. And I'm also not huge on when boss fights just act like platform challenges. This doesn't feel like a boss, it feels like more level.
Perhaps I underestimated your power. Perhaps I should actually start trying.
Really? The Sonic equivalent of literal Satan just said, I wasn't even trying. I don't mind him saying that he was holding back, but work on your phrasing. I've been joking around him, but he typically speaks in a hefty level of eloquence where such words as actually and trying wouldn't exactly fit. Maybe something along the lines of, it appears my creation is greater than the insect I assume to be toying with. As is, it sounds less like he's trying to threaten you and more like he's overwhelmed as one would be placed in his position. Though I guess it is fitting because it only takes 3 hits to kill this form. And then we move on to the final phase, Neo Devil Doom, the true final battle. His health bar grows back to full and the main vocal theme of the game kicks up. I see no hero without it's all Hail Shadow. I don't care for All Hail Shadow. It's just a poorly composed, evil version of Live and Learn with painfully corny lyrics like obliterating everything that's not your friend. Why this had been Shadow's theme ever since 06, instead of Shadow 05's I Am All of Me, or even SA2's Throw It Away, eludes me. Having this as his theme reduces his character to just evil Sonic, which I guess that's how kids perceive him, but that's a total disservice to the mysterious, brooding, ultimate life form that he really is. The boss itself is great though. This is the Doomwing phase of the fight, and because that's pretty much the equivalent of a super form in this mode for some reason, this plays out like your typical supersonic boss fight. In other words, it's got every negative trope you could have in a boss fight, from the pacing being determined by the boss itself, to the boss feeling like a finish line rather than a fight, to the battle being overly simplistic, to the whole thing feeling like a completely different game that involves skills that never get applied anywhere else, etc, etc, but I don't care in the slightest, because this is the climax, and it effing feels like one. Have you ever watched the game show Hole in the Wall, where they got these people on stage and they got affinity to the cardboard cutouts so they inch closer towards them? I used to watch it a lot on Netflix on my 3DS. Actually, that might be a bit too obscure. It's like the stolen scenes from Star Fox. You're swooping up and down and all around to fit to these things because this is the only part of the game where the Doomwing can do that. It's a good time, although I think I had a few issues with the controls, which way was up, which was down. I was also going to complain about the lack of mid-boss checkpoints. No, that's actually a good thing. Hell, this phase basically is a mid-boss checkpoint, and it's well needed because this is the hardest boss of the game. I died once, and it was because of my own lack of skill rather than glitch. When you land that final hit on him, he can use Chaos Control. Well, good thing we've still got the full emerald. Kaboom! What the hell do you mean D rank? With the final boss conquered, Rouge comes back and asks for the real emeralds so she can switch them out. And this is where I talk about that again. During Radical Highway and Devil Doom, Chaos Control is disabled. You've got the real emerald, but you can't use Chaos Control. And because of that, I'm thinking my idea of Shadow being stuck with the fake emerald was the plan all along, with that part with him canceling Devil Doom's Chaos Control being a reawakening of the fake emerald's powers. It could have been expanded upon, having him keep the fake with him and see how far he could push it in later games. That would have been awesome. But no, we need to do it like this so that Rouge can pull her best Pacifica Northwest impersonation.
Whatever.
Pain. After giving the real emerald to Rouge, Shadow meets up with the good Robotniks one last time, watching Maria succumb to her HIV and Jaro slowly disappear into nothingness. They insist that he must go on and not remain trapped in his memories. But if I could, I'd wish it all away. If I thought tomorrow would take you away. You're my piece of my... This was a mistake of an idea. Whatever. Marie reminds him that his friends need help, so he runs off, a single tear flying off his face and onto Rouge's cheek. Roll credits. That was fantastic. I know I was being a negative a lot, but as I kept saying, positivity is just not my strong suit. In fact, I'd say that was my favorite Boost game, maybe aside from Unleashed. Though that's not exactly high praise, seeing as how all the games in between had some inescapable amount of... My parents would kill me if I said what I wanted to say, so please enjoy this representation. Sonic Colors was overly simplistic, Sonic Generations' classic Sonic was a nightmare to control, Sonic Forces was overly simplistic and classic Sonic was a nightmare to control, Sonic Frontiers had enough to fill an hour and a half of time, although most of it just boils down to being a collectathon. Heck, even this game has one big glaring issue, though it isn't anything compared to most of the other Boost games. It's 3.5 hours long. I complained about Frontiers being just shy of 15 hours, and this is barely over a fifth of that. I beat the whole thing in the first session. It took me almost as long grinding through the challenges in Sonic's story to unlock all of me after finishing Shadow, because I wanted to hear it in this package somehow before ending the recording. But it's not meant to be a full game, it's just a bonus act on the Sonic Generations remaster. But that leads into one more issue. You can unlock all of me in Shadow Generations, yes, but only if you get the DLC. Now, I'm a staunch believer in physical or piracy, and that means not buying DLC unless it's on one of those cards at Walmart. Of course, there's always that second option. Liar, lawyer, mirror, show me what's the nouveau. So the only way I'm playing the special movie level is if either the game gets a GOTY edition with all the DLC on the disc or card, not on a single-use voucher, or Empress comes back and does her thing. I'm not holding out hope for either possibility. But hey, that's just meaningless bonus content, probably not nearly as fleshed out as the main game, and what's here as is still a great afternoon's worth of game.
But is this what Sonic Frontiers should have been? That's a difficult question. On the one hand, it certainly helped a lot better than Sonic Frontiers, but on the other, Frontiers are trying to evolve the franchise, and this is just more what I already knew I was a fan of. My love for most of this game's upworld, combined with my disdain for Spyro the Dragon, has convinced me that Sonic actually can work in an open world with enough tinkering, as long as it's not a godforsaken collectathon. I still think taking more inspiration from style-focused games like Tony Hawk and Devil May Cry could help in fleshing out the concept. Also,
Shut up!